Hey everyone, it's Dylan with SeaTee Aquatics, and today we're going to be dipping some coral. So why do you want to dip your coral? That answer is simple. It's to kill any unwanted pests that may be coming in on the coral. These pests may be coming from your local fish store or may already be in your fish tank. But by dipping your coral, it helps to remove them and helps to remove any irritation from the coral so that it can become healthier over time. In today's example, I'm going to be dipping some zoanthids because the rock has some bubble algae on it and I would like to get rid of that bubble algae. But dipping your coral can also remove all sorts of other pests, including nudibranchs, flatworms, red bugs, and many other types of animals. It can also remove different pest algae, as I mentioned, like bubble algae, or potentially hera algae, or even bryopsis. So follow along to see how I dip my coral. Today we're going to be using this Professor Polyp's bubble bath because it is a very quick and very effective coral dip. It is hydrogen peroxide based, so it kills pretty much any pests that are on the coral, including both the animal and plant types of pests. The tools that you'll need for today are 2 containers to hold water, 1 for your dip, 1 for rinse, some sort of measuring cup so that you can be accurate with your water to dip ratio, your coral dip, and I'd also recommend having a pair of tweezers so that you don't have to get your hands into the water, or you could also wear a pair of gloves. So this coral dip specifically calls for a 1:5 ratio. So that means I'm going to use 1 part dip for every 5 parts of water. So I'm going to use water from the tank, and I'm just going to start by grabbing some water right from the tank behind me. So I have 900 milliliters. This is another 900 for a total of 1800. And I'll probably go for 1 more. And this one's 950. Gives me a grand total of 2750. Now I'm just going to use my calculator. I'm going to take 2750 and divide that by 5, which gives me 550 milliliters of dip that I would like to use. Every dip is different, so make sure to read the bottle so that you know how much to put into yours. Now I'm going to add my dip to the water. Now I can mix it up. And now we can add our coral. So for this dip, it says to leave the coral in for exactly 1 minute. Any more can kill the coral. Any less might not kill all of the pests. So I like to set a timer on my phone. I get it ready with the 1 minute. That way I can start it the second the coral hits the bath. But before I do that, I also need to prep my rinse. So I'm just going to do that real quick by grabbing some more tank water behind me. This does not need to be measured out because again, it's just a rinse and we're not mixing anything. All right, now I'm going to grab the coral from the tank behind me and dip it for 1 minute. So before I put the coral in the dip, I just like to make sure that the polyps close up. So I'm just going to put this back in the tank real quick. So again, I just want to put this in for 1 minute. No more, no less. So I'm just going to drop it in, press start. Now again, with this dip, you just want to make sure that there's some good flow. Any dip really, you want to make sure that it's moving around the coral, getting full exposure. If you're using this same dip as me, you may notice some bubbles forming. That is normal. The hydrogen peroxide in the dip is reacting, and that's how it's killing the pests. I am going to try and knock off any of the bubble algae while it's in here, because it's out of the tank, and I don't have to worry about it landing back in the tank and spreading. I've only got a few seconds now, so I just want to pick up the rock and get it out and into the rinse. And now I'll let it sit in the rinse for a minute and just stir that up again to help rinse off any of the coral dip. And now, if you look in the original dip bucket, I don't know how well you guys can see that, but there's quite a bit of stuff floating around. There's definitely a bunch of copepods in here, some bubble algae, and if I'm looking closely, there might even be some other stuff. No, just mostly copepods and bubble algae. There's actually not too many other pests in this tank. Quick rinse once more. Now this can go back into the tank. Now I'll grab the next piece of coral, which again is just another zoanthid. So I'll just drop this in the dip, press start on the timer. Just doing the same thing as before, trying to get some of the bubble algae to come off of the rock while it's reacting in the dip. Like I said before, this dip starts to produce bubbles as it oxidizes and reacts with the pests and the algae. There's the timer, and we get it in the rinse as quickly as possible. Now that it's rinsed, we can put it back in the tank. But again, just see some bubble algae, gonna try and get some of it off. Here is one of the rocks back in the tank. And the second one is towards the back there. You can see the zoa is already opening back up on this one. This one, which has the GMK zoanthids, is still got to open back up. You can see how much bubble algae is actually still on here. This is after the dip, like just 1 minute. And then I'll show you again the rock tomorrow and show you how much of the bubble algae has died off by tomorrow. So now we're back the next day, and I'm going to show you some of the results in the tank. Alright, so here are the GMK zoanthids about 24 hours later. After the dip, you can see they have opened back up again. And you can also see that this rock is a lot less green than it was when it went into the dip. The bubble algae has started getting very pale and is going to die off slowly over the next few days. And the film algae has definitely been cut back quite a bit. Here we also have the other zoanthids that we dipped. I believe these are the smurfettes. You can see again here that the top of the rock is pretty much completely clear now from film algae. It was pretty green going into the dip yesterday, but now there's nothing really left on top. The sides of the rock still have a little bit, but it's not too bad. And even the bubble algae, as you can see, this rock was covered. There's almost none left. There's still a little bit, but it's turned pretty pale, and again, that's going to just die off over the next few days. And remember, if you enjoy our content, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications to join us on our journey through the sea. And there we go. Now you've gotten to see how we dip our coral here at SeaTee Aquatics using Professor Polyp's Coral Bubble Bath. Thanks for watching.